Your mom is white.
My mother is not white.
Why does Shannon Sharpe have this show? What's up, you guys? My name is Kevin Ortega-Rojas. I am a podcaster, content creator, and host. I host a podcast called Byline Men the Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Kevin Ortega-Rojas if you want to follow me. I post political, pop culture, and social commentary, and I would love to see you there. Anyway, that's enough of an intro. Today, we are going to talk about the dumpster fire that was the Amanda Seales interview on Club ShayShay. So, Amanda Seales today appeared on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Club ShayShay. The interview literally just wrapped a couple of minutes ago, but I already started filming because this was such a hard interview to watch. Since this interview was announced, I've been telling people that I will post a review/recap onto YouTube for people who don't have 2+ hours to spend watching a video. So I was going to record this recap tonight, but this was so unbelievably hard to watch that I had to react immediately because I just cannot cope with the high blood pressure and anxiety that watching Shannon Sharpe conduct an interview like this made me suffer through. Well, from the very beginning, the introduction to the episode was Amanda Seales talking about another person. It was a very gossipy, buzzy sort of clip.
And do you know how disgusting that is? And that cornball nigga who loves to make himself look like he's the white people's savior.
Who said that?
Emmanuel Akko.
That should have given me pause immediately because while, yes, I know that Club ShayShay interviews, they typically go viral for moments like that where someone is commenting on another celebrity or on a pop culture moment. Think the Cat Williams interview and others like that. But with Amanda Seales, being someone who is a fan of Amanda Seales, I knew that going into this would be a more substantive interview. And so that should have given me pause immediately to think, why is he using something that I know does not reflect the entirety of this discussion to introduce the episode with? But regardless, the interview started, and Shannon Sharpe gives Amanda a pretty stellar introduction. He lists off all of her roles, titles, accolades, and achievements.
Today is a multi-talented, prolific comedian, actress, writer, producer, director, TV host, syndicated radio host, author, podcaster, DJ, rapper, singer, poet, media personality, performer, cultural commentator, content creator, an industry veteran, social media star, NAACP Image Award nominee, hip-hop scholar, entrepreneur, CEO, a philanthropist, an activist, a Renaissance woman. She calls herself a common sense specialist.
And so immediately, because I'm an idiot, my first reaction was, wow, Shannon Sharpe has been paying attention. He sees the way that people in the media and online have been dogging Amanda Seales. He sees the way that people have been talking about her. So he started this interview off on the right foot. He gave her flowers and gave her credit where credit was due. And I thought this is going to be actually a pretty good interview. I was wrong. That is where the niceties started and stopped, because immediately Shannon Sharpe proved himself to be incapable of conducting an interview of this scale. An interview, I don't want to say significance because I feel like that's a really strong word, but he's not capable of, Shannon Sharpe doesn't have the vernacular, is what I'm trying to say. Shannon Sharpe cannot have a serious conversation because he's not, I don't believe, a serious person. I think that Shannon Sharpe showed himself to be in this interview a bad faith actor, and I will tell you why. So immediately Shannon Sharpe and Amanda go into the ongoing hit pieces and opinion pieces about Amanda and her being unlikable and the things that people are saying about her online. Shannon Sharpe asks Amanda why the things that people are saying bother her.
And that's impacting you?
Yes.
Why?
For a number of reasons. One, I am not a sociopath.
And I can obviously see where Amanda is coming from, because it is not just a person online who is saying something negative about you. It is a professional writer writing up an opinion piece about you, handing that off to their superior or their editor. That editor then approving it and publishing it in that publication like the Grio or Essence, then sharing it on social media with a headline and a photo, and then that circulating and being shared online, and then people responding and reacting on Twitter and TikTok. That's a lot. That's a lot for one person. And so I can absolutely, without needing any further explanation or evidence, even if Amanda was not someone that I liked, I can totally understand why it would bother you for tons of people online to be talking about you. Amanda goes on to describe how other Black women and other followers of her reached out and said, I connect with this. I understand you. I can see myself in you. And I think that you should take a closer look. Then Amanda shares that she was recently diagnosed as having autism.
And so I recently was diagnosed as someone who has autism spectrum disorder, which is very difficult to identify in Black women because of racism.
So what exactly is autism spectrum? Because I hear people say you're on the spectrum.
And Amanda starts to describe how that makes sense and how autism has shown up in her life and why people may think that she's unlikable because of her tone or the way that she approaches conversations. And then I noticed in the live chat, because this was a stream, because it was a premiere on YouTube, I noticed that in the chat, people were saying things like, she thinks that this is an excuse for everything. She's using being autistic as an excuse for being whatever. And I disagree. I don't think that Amanda is using being autistic as an excuse for why she may not get along with people. I think that she is investigating her past experiences and how having autism may have shown up in her life in ways that she didn't previously recognize. As someone who was diagnosed with ADHD at 28, it was a validation for me to think, oh, these things that I felt or the way that I reacted or these things that have happened are not unreasonable. They are just a part of who I am, and I did the best with what I had. And so I just think that what we were witnessing was Amanda being vulnerable and open and honest and investigating and interrogating herself as a person and sharing that with us, which she did not have to do. And I think that it is awful that people, including Shannon, would be so combative, which you'll notice is a trend here, would be so combative with her sharing that. So Shannon then starts to really show himself to be a bad faith actor, and he starts to question Amanda in really weird ways. Amanda shares a story about how she was in grade school. She had a conflict with a teacher who was complaining that Amanda was having a tone and correcting her. And Shannon says, well, you shouldn't correct your teachers. And, why do you think that was? And Amanda says, I think that this teacher was reprimanding me for being a gifted, intelligent Black young student. And Shannon immediately bypasses that and says, well, no, it was on you.
Do you think she would have felt equally as offended if a white kid, because I'm assuming this teacher was white, right? Mm-hmm. If a white child would have corrected her, I think most teachers would feel some type of way if a child corrects them.
That's not for me to surmise. I'm just saying that my experience was this lady giving wrong information.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to correct her. Now, this is the same lady who tried to accuse me of stealing. And when a white girl said, no, Amanda didn't steal it, I did, she was like, well, I think both of you need to go to the principal.
Right.
And Amanda's basically trying to tell him, I was in this classroom for a year. I know what that experience was like. And I'm sure that she felt, even at that young age, being a Black girl, I'm sure that she felt the microaggressions, and I'm sure she felt a certain amount of pressure and anxiety in that class, if that was the experience that she had with that teacher. And so I noticed at this point that Amanda was in the live chat on YouTube, and she was also live streaming on Instagram. So she was reacting and responding in real time to the interview as it aired. And my first reaction was, this is a bad idea. And I was commenting and telling Amanda, get out of the comment section. This isn't good for you. You did the interview. So just, let it air. Let people have their own opinions. You said your piece. But Amanda knows better than I do. And I'm sure that, unfortunately, it is her lived experience to understand that people will twist your words. Things will be chopped and screwed to fit a certain narrative. And that is exactly what happened.
They cut him out saying to me, you think everybody who disagrees with you is racist. They cut it out. They cut out a whole chunk of this interview. They cut out a whole chunk of this interview. They cut out a whole chunk of this fucking interview. They cut out a whole chunk of this interview. Just so you know, they cut out a whole chunk of this interview. They cut out a whole chunk of this interview where he said, you think anyone who disagrees with you is racist. And then I said, no, I don't, but I feel like I don't know how we got to that point of this conversation. Then I explained racism in the medical field. Then I explained, and then he was still countering me. Then I explained what's going on with why I said what I said about the teacher. So that's why you can see there's a transition that happens where they cut a part of this interview out that made him look like a fucking jackass. I just want to make that clear. He spoke to me very disrespectfully and they cut it out. So I want to let y'all know that they cut it out. They cut it out. And then it jumps to me being very terse, and you can see that he responds saying, well, I'm sorry if it comes off as I was being combative, because I said to him, I feel like you're being combative.
The fact that Shannon Sharpe would set Amanda up to be emotionally responsive, to be emotionally reactive to something that he was doing, and then edit that part out of the interview completely delegitimizes him as someone who deserves this kind of platform. It was so disappointing to watch Amanda realize that she was being taken out of context in real time. This goes on to be a theme throughout the rest of the interview, which is why I really stopped paying attention after an hour and some change, because it was just Shannon being combative with Amanda. And at some point, Amanda has to stop him and say, I would like you to listen to what I have to say and actually digest what I'm saying instead of just listening and waiting to respond or react. Don't be combative. And then Shannon starts to be combative about Amanda calling him out for being combative.
Fascinating to watch you accuse me of doing the thing that you're doing.
No,
fascinating.
I think
it's fascinating.
And it was just very frustrating to watch. It was honestly just, I was appalled, because why would you invite someone on your platform to fuck with them in this way? What was most frustrating about this that he didn't seem to comprehend was that Amanda was not giving you her opinion on race. Amanda was sharing with you her lived experience as a Black woman in America, but it was clear that Shannon Sharpe came into this ready to paint Amanda as an angry Black woman, a stereotype that has been cast upon her, a stereotype that I really resent, because Black women in America have every right to be angry. I don't see Amanda Seales as being an angry person, but even if she was, you're showing her why she should be. Then Shannon Sharpe tells Amanda that her parents are white.
But anyway, your mom is white.
My mother is not white.
Is your
Why
mom?
do people keep saying my mother is white?
She's West Indian, so
she is a Black woman from Grenada, which is a Black island.
This was so frustrating, because his excuse here for being confused was that earlier Amanda Seales, when talking about her aunt who used to take her on trips, married a white man. And he said, well, that was the reason why I got confused. You know, you said married a white man. Oh, okay, so you don't do any research and you're not listening to the story. That is what you just proved. You were just arguing with her while she was telling that story. And because you were so focused on being combative, you confused her aunt for her mother because you're not actively listening to your guest. Why does Shannon Sharpe have this show? Later in the interview, when Amanda is discussing having to be 10 times better in order to get half as far as her peers, Shannon Sharpe says, isn't it easier to do that because at least you knew ahead of time that you had to work 10 times harder? This seems like a man who does not understand misogyny and racism in America, and he is ready to make excuses for it. I really hate when people have the tough love, toughen it out, you know, just go with it approach to racism. It's frustrating. It makes no sense. And Amanda was dumbfounded, as was I. When Amanda is talking about her experience in college and she says that she was kicked out of her college theater conservatory program, Shannon's initial reaction is to laugh and ask her what she did. What kind of accusatory ass question is that when someone is telling you a story about something that happened to them 20 years ago, to immediately jump to what'd you do? And this is not the first time Shannon did it in the interview, and it's not the last time that he did it. He did it constantly. If Amanda shares that something negative in her life happened, his go-to response, because he's not a skilled interviewer with the ability to ask thoughtful follow-up questions, his response was, what did you do? Then when Amanda is telling this story about being kicked out of her college theater conservatory program, and Shannon says, had you ever had an issue with this teacher before? And she says no. And he says, well, then why did this happen? Amanda opens the floor and says, why do you think it happened?
So what would you deduce? Why would she just flip out?
That would lead me to speculation, conjecture, and innuendo. So you were there. I mean, had you had any run-ins with this teacher prior to this? So you were a model student in class?
Straight A's.
Straight A's.
Shannon's response is he doesn't want to speculate. But you just spent the first hour of the interview doing nothing but speculating and interjecting your opinion on things that you were not around for. So clearly you are completely comfortable speculating and you understand what Amanda is doing here. Shannon Sharpe came into this interview with very clear intentions of how he wanted Amanda to come off, and he tried his best to edit himself out of the interview being very problematic. I am disappointed that this was the experience that Amanda had. I'm disappointed that Amanda Seales doesn't seem to be able to tell her truth uninterrupted. Actually, what comes to mind is Jason fucking Lee, who, I'm gonna be honest, I have my own opinions about, gave Amanda her best interview that I have seen. Jason Lee allowed Amanda on the Jason Lee show or whatever it's called. He gave her the opportunity to tell her story uninterrupted. He asked thoughtful follow-ups. He did not make her feel like she was on trial, like she had to explain herself or defend herself. The fact that someone like Jason Lee, who runs a gossip blog for, let's call it what it is, was able to conduct a professional, thoughtful interview. But Shannon Sharpe, who has access to these celebrities and has this platform of millions and millions and millions of people who tune in to watch his show, has to do absolutely no research, does not have to listen to his guests, does not have to act in any appropriate manner, is frustrating. It is frustrating. Club ShayShay needs to be canceled. This man should be deplatformed. I mean, that's going a little far. I don't think that he should be deplatformed, but this interview is for this kind of show is for a particular kind of person. It is not for me. I'm glad that Amanda was able to speak. I hope that people who watch this interview will listen to what she is saying and not just follow along with Shannon Sharpe and his line of questioning. Yeah. All right, guys, that's all the time I have. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what your takeaways from this interview were. Do you enjoy Club ShayShay? Are you a fan of Amanda Seales? Let me know your thoughts. I will be back next time. Hopefully, I'll see you here. Take care. Love you. Bye.